Okay, I suspect I should be live now. Let me go to my YouTube studio account, and then let's move this so you guys don't see an infinite mess of blah. If this ever wants to load here. There we go. Give away announcement in some okay. Cool, this still exists, so that's good. Bear with me for a second here. I think I need to do this. And then I'll hardware for free. Oh, I don't want to do that. I just want to put sequence generator. Oh. Why did they change this? No, we'll still keep the same list. The only thing we'll do is we're going to remove this, which did not work. So be it. Hope my audio is good. Maybe. There's an error. Why is there an error? That's not good. There should not be an error. I've had a lot of errors on YouTube recently. Okay. Let me listen. Okay, so you guys hear. Okay, so this is for the SSD. I had to redraw. I gave Robert Kilkenny plenty of time to basically get back to me. Either he could have commented or emailed me or whatever. Unfortunately, that was not the case, so he did not do that. Okay, cool. I thought my computer was messing up there. So, what you guys don't see, and I'll show you here, is I still have a list here. So this is for the SSD. Quang Nguyen already got his microphone sent out, so that one's done. So we're just doing this list, and we're going to generate RAM number as long as it's not 5. That is 4. And tech review by Erdy. Or Erdy, yeah. So I'm gonna have to find his phone number because I actually have worked with him in the past. So he is the new winner of the 120 gig SSD. This might save me from shipping because he'll actually might be able to come by and actually pick it up. So I definitely appreciate everybody joining in on that. I will actually. Let me see if I can find his phone number here, because I unfortunately never saved his phone number. There's been a lot that's going on. No. Unfortunately, since my mom, as most of you guys know, passed away on the 23rd, I've had a lot of text messages. No, not that one. No, not that one. Okay, so it should be him. No. Why is it so hard to find his number? No. No. It should be right around here. No. Has it been that long since I've talked to him? No. I did save his name. So, I'm gonna message him. So, guy who won the SSD didn't respond. So, I redrew and you won. Feel free to stop over and get it. That way it will save me shipping. I should want to read this here. Since he was a pup. Sorry, responding stuff regarding my dog here for a minute. Pup's doing well though. Just some stuff. Nothing serious or anything. It's just working on his diet and everything to get him to the proper way he needs to be. So yeah, so that is done. And I know I won't have to redraw that because, like I said, I actually do know him. And like I said, I've done work with him before. So I wanna show you guys. Oh, this is actually done. So hang tight for a second. Pretty sure, yeah, I already cleared out the SSD. So, I have two really cool computers for sale. I'm going to show you guys them. Not by any means am I advertising them. I mean, I'm not going to ship them. So unless you're local to the greater Pittsburgh area, it would be a little bit difficult here. Let me put it off screen so I can log in. Really need to get my password manager reset up here. Okay, so this is the one computer I have right now. So really like the case. It worked pretty well. The only thing is the RGB is not controllable by anything on the board. It's basically by button, but you can sync it without too much trouble. This is the second computer I just put together, so I do like this case a fair bit. So this is actually pretty neat here. I'm going to show you guys something. So I just did a review on it. This is controllable. It is addressable RGB. And I do have a addressable RGB header, so that's definitely good. And then these fans are actually regular RGB. I should really flip-flop the fans and everything, but it's fine. H100i is what I'm actually using on here. So you can see I have a 500 gig SSD. The H100i is here. I got to clamp cables a little bit, but overall it's not bad. This power supply actually does not fit. It does, but it doesn't. It says it doesn't, but it actually does. So that's that. So, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I have both those for sale. I have these are suggested list prices. Honestly, I mean, if I get list for them, that's always good. I always add a little bit extra money on base, so I'm still making my standard money regardless. But it never hurts to make a little bit more money than what you normally would. The thing is, you just have to be fair, right? So I generally try to list anywhere from 15 to 20% over cost because I generally end up between about 8 to 15%. And it's not, don't really make any money doing this, unfortunately. I wish I did. I mean, technically, of course I make money, right? I'm making, I don't know, somewhere in the ballpark of 15%, right? So if it's $1,000, I make $150, right? If it's $500, I make $75. Generally it's about what I make. I do it because you have to be paid for your time. That's actually something that I've discussed pretty in depth. I probably need to get away from here. Yeah. With anybody in the space is that the reality. Why? Since when can't you do that? The problem is most people go into this building computers as a get rich quick scheme. The problem is that I can't beat the prices. I'm surprised that's only $370. I cannot beat the prices of, say, iBuyPower. Technically, I can. Technically, I can in some cases, but so that is an equipment cache. I don't know what that is including that. So if I do, okay, as old as ours, not the whole. Okay. The biggest problem with doing this stuff is, you really have to be good at it. And I don't mean just building. I mean understanding, diagnosing, putting together the right thing. So I'll give you a perfect example of a mistake I just made. I kind of realized this shortly after going into this, and that was the case and the power supply may not have been compatible. They're technically actually not. They actually do fit, and you know, I wouldn't recommend that case. Like that power supply brand new was $150. It's one that I've had sit around for a really long time. Here, actually, let me actually do these quests here. Hold on, let's wait for him to do it. It's an 850 GQ. So you know, I've had it for probably about a year. I've like right around like 690 days left on the warranty, right? So I'm not selling it as new, but just note that I completely. Sorry, I forgot about that. It's not a problem to warranty it. So yeah, if it dies after 68 or 680 days, of course it's not ideal, right? I get that. But the main thing I get at is that PC building is a passion. It's not something that's going to make you a lot of money. It's not even, honestly, that particular grade is a side hustle. You're not going to undercut anybody, right? So the two reasons why you're not going to undercut anybody is companies like iBuyPower. I cannot beat them in raw price. When you look at the two main aspects, solid state drive or processor and graphics card, two main portions, right? I'm not going to beat them ever. I might come close to matching them. I hate when I do that, but I'm not going to beat them. That's just the reality of it. It stinks, right? But I'm really not going to beat them in price. Now, one thing to consider when you know building computers is, okay, so why do I do it? Well, I cater to. Ooh, that'll be a decent trinket, possibly. I cater to a specific kind of person. So here's the problem with buying an iPower computer. If something fails, yes, they have a warranty. You have to call them, go to technical support. They might do a good job, they may not. I'm not here to rate iBuyPower's technical support. I don't know it. I would go to say that most of them probably don't have the amount of experience I do for the most part, and that's a pretty bold statement. It's probably true. There's definitely probably people there that have done this more than I have. They definitely have more remote diagnostic experience than I do. I generally go through a lot of the general things and I just go look at it, right? I'm not necessarily good at getting people to properly explain everything to a degree. Most of the people I sell to are kind of technical, so maybe, right? But anyway, so that's one thing. If anything happens, you got to call somebody. Okay? You have to call me too, so that's no different. If they can't fix it, you have to ship it back. And shipping is not cheap. Shipping is $60 to $80 go from East Coast to West Coast. So that is something to consider, right? And $68 if you have one issue within a year or two, that's how much you expect to get it replaced. Also, how quickly will they get it back to you? From experience, manufacturers take 2 to 4 weeks to replace anything. Okay. Now, that also goes for parts. Graphics card, RAM, whatever have you. Now, some things, like RAM, if you have confirmed one bad RAM stick, you can limp by on, or you know, on one of them if you have a two kit, right? So that's fine. It's Saturday. Okay, I was just thinking to myself, yeah, it is Saturday. Okay, when is the graphics card? When is the power supply? When is the motherboard? Okay, so now, you know, say you build your own, right? Which I still encourage anybody to build their own. What is... Okay, no, this is actually something different than what I thought. Okay, I'll still do it though. Oh, I gotta go shadow for this. I forgot I'm a healer. Anyway, so let me get my thoughts back. So, when you send out a part, it pretty much takes just as long, right? So, then people are like, well, I should just go through iBuyPower. You're right, you know? If you're not someone like me that has a lot of hardware laying around, 100% agree. However, if you're going to do what I do, and you're making anywhere from a 10 to maybe a 25% margin, usually closer like 10 or 15, but I mean, I'll be honest, I have probably gotten a 25% margin once or twice, and it's usually because just I got everything on super deal, and I priced it competitive to what other people were pricing, and I just charged accordingly, right? But part of making a little bit of money on the side doing it is you're going to support it. So you're not just going to say, hey, I'll RMA that for you and I'll diagnose that for you. That's useful, but if you're just going to do that to go to iBuyPower or go to whoever, right? You got to give a higher level of service, and that is why are these guys evading? That's dumb. That's where somebody that builds a computer locally can do. They can give a higher level of service, but you have to realize like they're in it to win it. You can't just build 1 or 2 computers, because the point is you're not going to save them any money. You're going to give them convenience and expertise. If you call someone like iBuyPower, as we have found out through Linus' video, that might have been CyberPower, one of those 2 manufacturers. So look up his video to verify, and I'm not crapping on anybody like iBuyPower. They honestly, I mean, I know one person locally that's bought one, and it wouldn't boot. And I offered to look at it for him, no cost. I know him, he's a good guy. Was going to say, hey, if I can figure it out and save you trouble, sure, I don't care, bring it to me. I'm not going to charge you for it. I love to help you out. It's what I do for friends and family. I obviously make sure I don't go too far above that, but yeah, if you're just going to slap together a computer, not support it, you're doing your people a disservice. You have to offer something that helps them, and support, expertise, and convenience is what I do, and that's why people buy from me. If you don't need that, if you can build your own, I tell people don't bother trying to work with me if you can build your own. You're not going to get something from me cheaper because you figure, the cost plus I'm going to make a little bit of money on the back end. So you're not going to get it cheaper through me. That's not always the case. Like the Ryzen 7 build I'm selling, probably, because it's using some parts that I've had around the shop. Like I upgrade my wife's 1700 to a 2600X. So, you're definitely getting a deal on that. So, okay, maybe, possibly, but generally speaking, I focus on new systems. So, just kind of remember that if you want to start building computers, is that it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. Nobody's making money off of this to retire on. Yes, there are companies back in the past that, that's what the bread and butter was, and it did really good for them. And then they moved over to like enterprise and commercial and all that fun jazz. But, I enjoy doing it because I like seeing, like, probably my biggest customer that I deal with is somebody who has it was a young kid that wants like an RGB gaming PC like the pros. They want to do high refresh rate gaming and all that stuff, and I like doing that stuff because I can really build the spec. I really know, when parents come to me, I have an idea like what these kids want, right? I try not to go overboard. Yeah, don't get me wrong, the more expensive the computer, in theory, the more money I make on it, but you figure every $100 I make $15, right, on average. It's not really worth it. It's worth, even if I double the cost of a computer from $500 to $1,000, I'm making $75 more, right? But the way I look at it is that the happiness of that customer and the headache, all it literally takes, because I look at it from a profit standpoint, is I have to make 2 calls, and I have to pay shipping 1 time. And I have to take time out of my day to support and answer questions when, I could have just prepared better, right? That being said, yes, building a more powerful system than what they need probably won't ever resort in a bad situation, but it kind of gives trust because, yes, there's not a lot of people in my area, and there's not a lot of people out there that have more overall experience with building systems, the kind of systems I build in the quantity, okay? There are plenty of people that do really high-end custom water cooling and everything. I get that. I don't dabble in that because there's just, to me, there's not a really huge market locally for that. I haven't seen those kind of systems sell. Those are boutique system builders. They do great work, but they really are, they focus on literally how much money they're making off of each system. And when you're building a premium product like that, of course you can charge a lot more money, right? But there's a lot more support. You have to be careful. Yeah, you have to drain the loop once or twice a year. You have to make sure it's properly maintained. And yes, you'll make a lot of money on the front end, but you'll lose a lot of time and effort on the back end. That's why I don't do that, right? But from an individual standpoint, there's not a lot of people out there that build more quantity of the computers in range than I do, right? And I value that, right? So I want to be able to say, when I sell a $500, $600, $700, $1,000 computer to somebody, I don't want them to go to somebody who's relatively tech savvy and say, you didn't, that guy, took you through the ringer, right? I want to be able to basically essentially defend myself and say, hey, look, first of all, this is what their expectations was. This is what was available at the time. This is roughly what I paid. This is roughly what I charged, and this is what they got from it. Yes, they could have asked you to build it, right? That's definitely something that's possible. But they didn't. They went through somebody, me, who in many cases is more experienced with, being able to deliver what they're looking for. And then they also have a line of support as well that they can use at any time. And I guarantee a 3-day turnaround after diagnosis of any failed part. That 3-day turnaround is either a temporary fix. So if you have like a RX 480 or 580, the expectations I put something like that in there, ship you back home with it, and then I RMA your part. God forbid, if I'm really low on parts and I'm nothing, I'm going on Amazon or Newegg. I'll have it here in a few days, probably 2 days if I go on Amazon, and I'll put it in. And then you're permanently fixed, and I send your part off on RMA, and I put it on the shelf to replace for somebody else, right? Or if I have a permanent replacement and you're happy with it, say I have an upgrade, there's something that has a little bit of warranty left in it, probably won't be new, but if it's a little step up, you get that too. I've done that a couple of times, and I'm cool with that, right? In the end, my answer, my rule is you'll get something as good or better with the replacement. That's the rule. It might be pre-owned. It might be new. And you'll have the option, right? I can give you the pre-owned item temporarily until you get yours replaced, right? That's definitely fine. I'll pay for the shipping as well. I pay for shipping there, and they send it back. That way, you're still gaming. You don't have to stop what you're doing. Yeah, you might have a few days out of like gaming stuff, right? But that's to be expected. I mean, things can't be diagnosed and fixed overnight. I mean, they could be, but they won't be. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do, and that's what I offer. And I had somebody today, he was going after a friend of mine on Facebook. Now, my friend, his name is Jason, he's a good guy. He has a focus in a little bit different area. We don't really compete very often on products and projects. He does a lot of used stuff, a lot of real budget things. Stuff where he's taken second, third, fourth, sometimes 6th gen Intel systems with, RX 47040 graphics. So he does a lot of that. He even does some like 1st gen Intel systems. So he does budget stuff. He's good at what he does, but he does budget stuff. I generally think he's priced pretty well. Of course, there's probably 1 or 2 times like he's selling an FX system that I think is not a good value because it's FX. It is what it is. That's my opinion. I'm not going to tell him that. I'm not going to discourage anybody from that. However, if somebody that I'm working with says, hey, should I buy this? I'm going to say no, because I don't always recommend everything he's selling, and I don't recommend everything everybody's selling. I recommend what I think is best for my customer. Here's a really good example. This guy asked me if I had this computer for sale, and I didn't, but if I did, he only had like a budget of he needed me to come down like $300. So mind you, my cost, my profit margin is 150, so I can't come down 300. Honestly, I'm not coming down more than 50, 60 bucks, right? Pretty much I'm not coming down more than 50 bucks. On a new system that I'm going to support for 2 years, I'm making $100 flat. Or in this case, I think it was 150. So I think it was going to come down like $75 or whatever maximum. That's what the goal was. So that was then. But I said, I don't have it anymore. And I said, what's your budget? He told me, he said, I'm going to buy this for 700. And I said, as long as it's not an FX system, you're good. Lo and behold, it's an FX system. I said, don't buy it. He said, the guy says it plays Fortnite, 120 FPS on Ultra. I said, no, it doesn't. I said, my system probably won't play Fortnite 120 FPS on Ultra. reasons for that. The game is not very well optimized. That's the primary issue. Another issue is the FX chip is not too well informed. You look up FX 8120, which is what this had, or 8350 even, and people are having massive FPS issues. And I said to him, so your budget's around 750 or something like that. I went on Craigslist. I found a really solid first gen Ryzen 1600 RX 580. Had a smaller SSD. It was in a decent case. It was an Air 240. I thought it was a good price. And he said, do you think I can get it down a little bit? I said, probably. I said, definitely ask. I said, but this is what you want. Will play Fortnite 120 FPS ultra settings? No system really will. You have to tweak things like view distance. And he's like, yeah, most people say they do put a lot of things on low to get to good FPS. I said, exactly. I said, this is what you're looking for. Or if you want to save even more money, here is a system that's a bit cheaper. It won't obviously do as well, right? But it's $400, and I think it will do really well as well. So he actually ended up not buying either one and might be buying one of my systems, which is fine. I have no issue with that. That wasn't the goal, but he I have no idea what to do here. I have no idea how to play this game. I'm confused. How does this thing work?
I've seen worse. I'm sure you can do better.
How does this work? I'm really confused. I gotta look this up. Sorry, guys. Never understood how these worked. Okay, so this is called... I'm really confused here.
Remove half this juicy burger.
Sorry, you guys have listened to this here.
Hey guys, so it seems like they're... See what happens.
Okay, so I wasn't crazy.
Wow. Okay. Looks like you have to get... I've seen worse. I'm sure you can do better.
That didn't work.
Okay. Looks like...
Try that again here.
Wow. Okay. Looks like you have to get pretty precise. But there's one done.
Okay.
I thought there was another.
Perfect. So I did that. Anyway, now I actually know how those work. Couldn't figure this out for the life of me. What was I going on about? Oh yeah, so my buddy Jason and all that stuff, right? Oh, this guy. So he might be buying, he might not be. It's not the end of the world if he doesn't. I'm sure I will find people to buy these computers. They're fully RGB, controllable by software. They're both very well priced. The slightly used computer, I mean, some things are used, some things are used, some things are new rather. Better value because there's actually I have a Microsoft key attached to it, so that's money and headache people don't have to mess with too much, right? But yeah, so that's really kind of the moral of the story is I'm more interested in the end. My personal ambitions of making $50 here, $100 there is not the most important thing. I don't want to give you guys an exact number, but if I sell 3 computers with $100 profit each, that still does not exceed 5% of me and my wife's monthly income after taxes. So it doesn't really help out a lot. It's more so the goal is to make it worth my time, right? That's a big thing, and to be able to fund more endeavors with computer stuff, and help get the YouTube channel up and running, help pay for a couple things here and there. I have that's annoying. That is really annoying that it does that. Okay. I've gotten upgraded bracers like 3 times in recent past. So, but anyway, so that's pretty much it. If you find somebody that builds computers, just be a little careful. The reason why I say that is not because I'm going to say don't trust somebody that builds a computer. No, definitely not the case. But building a computer is not hard. I don't think paying somebody even $100, I mean, maybe paying somebody $100 to build a computer makes sense, right? But really, you need the whole package. You need expertise and support. And honestly, there are companies out there. If you watch a Linus Tech Tips video, when they secret shop like 6 companies, I think there's one clear winner where it might have been Main Gear. It's one of them. Yeah, I think it was Main Gear where they recommended. They didn't have the best performance, but they weren't too far off. They were like 10 or 15% off, but they advised. And that's where a lot of people that quote unquote can build a computer fall short. If you're not actively reading hardware news on subreddits, on Linus Tech Tips, and all the publications, and actively involved with testing and seeing how things really perform, then that person just building a computer isn't doing you a service, because, as we said before, you're really not going to get a better price. So actually, here, let's do it. Let's do it right now. Very simple. So let's exit out of that, exit out of that, exit out of there. Okay, so let's go 2 tabs. Let's go first, iBuyPower.com. So goal's gonna be $1,000, not including Windows, because I know everybody loves to get Windows in their own place. Here we go. Actually, this is perfect. So let's see what this comes with for $1,000. So case-wise, case is fine. I don't really see any issues with it. No LED lighting, which is also fine. No case lighting. Processor 2600, that's fine, no issues. Memory 2666, not necessarily a fan. I would like a little bit faster, but so be it. Graphics card, we have a 1660. Motherboard X470. So this is also where I have a little bit of a problem. The board is too high end for this system. That being said, there's not an option to go lower. Thermaltake Smart Series 80 Plus Gold, I think that's a fine power supply. I don't have any issues with that. No default cables. Okay, so we're gonna need, so let's go, we need to go back because we need RGB. We honestly do. So we need to save a little bit of money, and we need to get some RGB action here. So I need, okay, all desktops, view all. So we need to start a little bit cheaper if possible. Okay, so we want $1,000 before tax. So I don't see any issues with this case necessarily. Let's go with this case because I know we can get this case in the PC part picker. Okay. Let's go with these guys because I can buy these as well. Want some RGB fans. sure we'll go with. Nah, I don't like RGB strips after that, personally. Okay, so let's go with the Core i5, something a little bit more powerful. Actually, let's go with this one because I like it better. We have an ASUS all-in-one liquid cooler. I'm fine with that. I don't have any issues. It's RGB as well, so that definitely helps. This is 8 gigs of RAM. We definitely want 16. And that is actually free upgrade, which is good. Graphics card is pretty bad. There we go. So 1050 Ti. Actually, if this has Windows, actually let's see. This is the problem: is we can't go with a cheaper motherboard, and that's unfortunately something you run into. Power supply is fine. Standard cables is fine. Is there no SSD? No. There has to be an SSD. Okay, so I'm gonna hope this has Windows with it. Okay, it does. Okay, so we can actually go back. So, base components. Let's see here. Where can I? Oh man, I can't get a better video card, unfortunately. Okay, so $970. No Windows. Just has RGB fans. You're getting a decent system. You are. So $970 and then sales tax. So $1,020. So I already have it beat. I don't need to go any further. And I'll tell you why. I literally have a system ready to roll. And that's this one right here. So let's take a look. What are you giving up? You are giving up a little bit on the board in regards to it's not a Z series board. The I/O is the same. Better fans. Memory's fine. Much better graphics card. You are stepping down the power supply. You're getting a 1 terabyte SSD. Okay. Now I'm charging $1,100. If you came to me and said, Steve, this is what I want to pay, I'd take it. I'm fine with that. This one's priced a little bit higher than normal, but that's just for negotiating purpose. I'm probably, I'll tell you guys here in a second where I'm at on it. Actually, let's do, I'm at about 19%, so I definitely have room to go down on it if somebody wanted to. I wouldn't really want to go any lower than like 1025 because that puts me around 11%. To answer your question, my apologies, I didn't see it. That one's tough because a lot of it's going to depend on your system. And the reason why I say that is if you're running Ryzen, dual channels can be a lot more helpful than running Intel. And if you run 2 4 gig chips, right, upgrading to 8 gig means you have to replace the whole set. Now the other thing is RAM is constantly being refreshed and changed. So having 2 sticks run completely identical may hurt you in the long run, right? So that one is really, that one's tough. Get my ass handed to me right now here. Let me stop dying. not here. Aw, really? That guy was deaf. That was deaf. I didn't realize I was being attacked by a freaking monk. So yeah, but that's fine. I'll join as we actually switch over to healing here. But that's kind of what it comes down to. I was actually surprised that I couldn't compete. I will say this: if you go to, I don't know, let's say newegg.com, gaming desktops, wait for it to load here, and then let's just go 750 to 1,000. Highest price. Okay, so I'll show you guys what I'm looking at here. Damn it. Give me a second here to completely get away. That's an open box. We want new. Why? That's an open box product, so bear with me for a second. Here we go. No, let's go to actually one I recognize. So, this one right here. Now this, overall, is better than what I'm selling from a pure spec standpoint. Now, you have to add tax, right? So just note that I always include tax. I have to pay tax, and you know, you get the difference. But let's take, oh, it doesn't even tell you what power supply is. So what you're getting with this. So this is 1,000 times, so you're paying 1,060. So easily I can match, that's not a problem. Let's look at what you're getting here. So you're getting a basic A320M HDV motherboard, which arguably for 2600X, I still wouldn't do that. Yeah, it is a 3+3 design. I get that, but you have no VRM cooling here whatsoever. Not a fan. You're running with 8 gigs of RAM, so you actually are giving up a little bit. You have a 240 gig SSD and a 1 terabyte hard drive. You have Cooler Master fans, which are actually positioned the incorrect way. So this has all negative air pressure, and the power supply is unlisted. So let me see if it actually. So it just says 500 watts, 80 plus. So that can be some really shoddy work, right? So yes, what you do get with this, from a raw performance standpoint, you're getting a better system, 100%. I can match this price at 1,060 all day. You're getting a processor that more or less isn't quite as good in game, but better multi-threaded. You're getting a graphics card that has a decent bump in performance, like very solid. You are giving up RAM, you're giving up on the SSD side, you are gaining Windows, but again, like, you can do whatever you want with Windows, you can pirate it, you can buy it, whatever. You're getting a one that's not really configured that well. You're getting a really low end board. You're probably getting not a very good power supply. So that's kind of where you got to make the decision. And I wouldn't fault anybody for making either decision, right? If you want to say, well, this Ryzen system gives me more overall gaming performance, you're probably right. 16 gigs probably not going to bottleneck you really that much, or having 8 gigs rather, might a little bit. But overall, you can add more RAM. You can invest a little bit of money in the long run in it. Oh, why did I do that? So that's kind of why I tell people to say, well, I can get a better computer off iPower. You can, from a raw specification standpoint, yes, you can. It's only $5 to ship, so that's a plus. But are you really, though? That's the question, right? No, you can't build that cheaper. I don't think so. Try, but I don't think you will. Come on. There we go. So that's really the thing. And that's why I say, well, I'm not trying to compete with them. I have no interest in doing that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for me to do that. I'm reading something here. Tomorrow. Sorry, I'm getting information that I've been trying to gather here. Sorry, we switched my dog to a new diet and getting some advice on it. Okay. Okay, we can probably fly over there. So, but yeah, the moral of the story is don't get into PC building as a fad. Don't do it for friends and family unless you're serious with it, because as soon as something goes wrong, you're the person they're bothering. And if it's not something that you have any stake in or enjoyment in, then it's not worth it. And what I mean by stake or enjoyment is, like, I build for friends and family all the time. I give them the same level of support that I give any other customer, even if I'm not making any money on them. Because honestly, I'm okay with that. However, the people I build for are also good people. They value my time more than I do. They will have a computer problem and often not tell me about it for a while, and I get a little frustrated saying, no. I need to know about it, and I need to fix it. Like, you can't, this isn't normal. This is not, to me, acceptable that you're dealing with these problems, right? So, I've been very fortunate that like I said, I have good people that I build for, and, not everybody's like that. A lot of people in the IT space get abused, unfortunately. And, as soon as they hear that you're IT, they want you to fix all their problems. So I generally have made it very clear what my expertise level is, and that is building, designing computers, optimizing them, fixing use issues with them, performing slow, stuff like that. I'm not an Excel master. I know it pretty well, but I use Google for that. And I tell people all the time, how do you know that? Well, It's a combination of everything I've learned through Google, and that's it. Just those two things. So when I don't know a solution to a problem, I apply everything that I've learned, and then I take that information and I run it with a cross-reference on Google. This is the problem. And as I try things, I tweak my searches. Okay? And it's now doing it this way. Are all the recommendations for how I'm describing and reduplicating the problem, they all come to the same conclusion. So there's a lot in that regard. And then I take, what I've learned from that and I apply it to things in the future. Answer your question, should I go for an RTX 2070 when build a $1,000 system? I'm gonna say probably not. And that's because that does not leave you with a lot of leftover money for everything else. So you're going to be sacrificing somewhere. That being said, I'm not convinced an RTX 2070 is a fantastic... Why does it say I can't do that yet? I'm really confused. Why can I not do this yet? Reload UI. Okay, let's reload UI here. That really sucks. I can't do this for whatever reason. So I essentially cannot go into shadow form. Or void form, whatever you want to call it. Really annoying. I think an RTX 2060 is a perfectly good choice. I think a GTX 1660 Ti is also a really good choice. I think an RX 590 could also be considered as well if you're an AMD fan. RX 590 and GTX 1660, from everything I've seen, basically perform almost identical. How much impact, how much IGP impact when video editing? For Intel, quite a bit. So if you're an Adobe user, and you're using Adobe Premiere, the integrated graphics can help accelerate through something called QuickSync. It helps a lot with things such as timeline scrubbing, not necessarily so much with exporting from my understanding. So that helps a bit. On the AMD side, not really much, because the only ones that have it is up to the 2400G, which honestly any gains you would get from that would be offset by a 6-core or 8-core processor, essentially. So that... not a lot if you're on the Intel side. If you're on the Intel side, a little bit. So the problem, though, is the i5-9400F is a competitive product. Now, here's the thing. I have a video, which is not edited yet, but I do have the test results done. The i5-9400F versus the 2600X by AMD. And I honestly was expecting something different. I really was. I was hoping for one thing. I was being really optimistic. I didn't expect the results I was going to get. I was just being really optimistic on what I was going to get. So that that test is pretty good. It made me appreciate the whole process a lot more. So, I don't work a lot with Intel builds right now. Generally, I don't. There are some I do, no doubt about that, but I don't. I generally don't go above like a $200 processor. And unfortunately, up until now, I haven't found a good Intel processor under $200. The 8400F, the 9400, or 8400, 9400, were historically under 200, but they were hard to get at that price due to shortage, right? So I kind of went away from that. So I was happy to see that Intel had a 6-core processor, $160 plus tax, so it's very competitively priced, and put up against the 2600X. And the conclusion is there's competition. And I think I kind of really am going to set the picture on there's a market for both chips. You probably won't go wrong with either one unless you do a lot of one thing and not much of the other. And it's not my usual, kind of like, Linus is a... Wow, I cannot cast that at all. That's really annoying. Linus is an NVIDIA shill, right? And I'm an AMD shill. Yeah, not the usual results for me on that one. So yeah. But like I said, you're probably looking at RTX 2060 if you can get it for around 350. I think that should balance your system pretty well. Pair it with 16 gigs of RAM, definitely. If you're going to go with Intel chip, the memory speed isn't all that important. I'd go 2666 because that's the maximum Intel supports out of the box. So at least you're not selling yourself short there. In that price range, you're probably looking at 9400F. And the reason why I would do that, I mean, maybe a 9400 if it's not much more to get the integrated GPU for like Adobe for QuickSync. But I wouldn't really spend much more than $30 premium if you're doing a lot of Adobe work. And it's only Adobe. DaVinci Resolve, from my understanding, does not work with QuickSync to the level that Adobe does. So it's really all about the Adobe. But right there, you're spending approximately $550 your budget on two main components. I would grab myself a good B365 or 360 board. I would not go Z. I would only go with a Z series board like a 390 or a 370 if there were features on there that you needed. And what I mean by that is PCI Express lanes, for example, if they're limited. If none of the B360 or 365 boards have the right I/O, but that's really it. No reason to go with the Z board. Those processors are 65 watts. They're not stressed in the VRM. You put one fan on the back of the case. There'll be plenty of airflow for any of those. So just don't waste your money there. Get 16 gigs of RAM. Honestly, you get 16 gigs of RGB RAM for about the same price as non-RGB RAM. Granted, you're not getting Corsair Vengeance Pro by any means, but you're getting something. Oh, I wasn't in shadow form. That's why I couldn't do that. Fail. So there's that. Get yourself an SSD. I would recommend the following, and I'll tell you why. One. And only if it's still on sale. If it's not on sale, then probably not. And it might be on sale still. It is still on sale. You can actually get this on Newegg a little bit cheaper. It's a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. It's a little bit slower than your standard NVMe drives. It's only about 2,000 megahertz on the read-write, which is a little bit slower. You can get up to 3 on like a Samsung 840 Pro, or 940 Pro rather. So it's a little bit slower in that regard. But it's still as cheap as a SATA drive. Like, you're going to save a few dollars on a SATA drive. Oh, why can't I do that? I have no idea why I cannot do that. That's annoying. I'm going to have to relog. So what I'll do is I will do a PC part picker for you here in a moment. Sorry. It's really annoying. Why can't I go into void form? It's really annoying. You guys have no idea how annoyed I am right now. Yeah, this is annoying. I'm probably dead here. No. It just doesn't help. I can't. I have no idea what's going on with that with the Switch. Here, I'll do it for you real quick. So $1,000, I'm going to assume tax. So we're gonna try to keep around 900. PCpartpicker.com. So let's do this here. Okay, yeah. Let's just start a new list. Let's assume that you want to give all your money to Intel. And, you know, AMD is the devil. Let's go. Make sure we're on the right platform here. Is there no 9400? They're all F. I did not know that. Well, that's really disappointing. Because this is a lot more and it's slower. Okay, well, it's $30 more, so we talked about that. Let's go with an option for, yes, we do. So we definitely want 4 slots. That's a given. And let's go with full ATX. So let's just assume you want to go full ATX. I'm going to go with this board for one reason. It most likely has addressable RGB. And also has a $10 mail rebate, so that doesn't help. That doesn't hurt. Yeah, so it's going to be a 4+3 or 4+2. Let's look at the I/O. Generally, ASRock is pretty good under I/O. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 USB. So 2 USB 2, 3 USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports, and USB Type C, 5.1 surround. Plenty of audio or outs there, so we're good there. So let's go back. Let's go with the RTX 2060 that we promised earlier. We're going to go with an EVGA model. That is always my preference. Oh, they have the little short, fat ones. Memory, let's go 2666. 3000 just in case there's some on sale. We don't want to sell ourselves short. We have some rip jaws. No, we don't want to do that. Cast latency 19 is too high. Let's go with, these should be good. Storage, so let's go with that Crucial P1. There we go. Good there. We got a little bit of room left, not a lot, but we got some. Case-wise, let's go with something from Fantex. They're making, not Fractal Design. I mean, Fractal Design makes a fine. Now let's go with the NZXT. So let's go with let's go with this one right here. And power supply. So we're gonna go a little bit over 1,000 after tax. Let's get ourselves some 80 plus gold, so this is gonna be a higher end system. And let's go at least semi, if not fully modular. Go. So we want to go at least 500. We have a couple options here. This might be my choice. This is on the list for, I want to say it's on Linus Tech Tips' new power supply list here. Power supply. Okay, yeah, make sure you guys are looking at the right thing here. Cases and power supplies. Oh wait, that's the old one. We need a new one. Okay. So MA. Okay, so this is an A tier A, so it's fine. Again, you don't have to go with this exact one, but it's fine. So $978. The only thing we didn't do is we didn't do an aftermarket cooler. So if you do want to do that, just to be on the safe side, we definitely have some options here. Not this, I've tested it, but Deep Cool does have some interesting things here. So let's go them and Cooler Master. Their 400 is a really nice basic blue LED one, but I mean, you may not even need that. But here we go. This is what I would do for $1,000. It's gaming focused. It's also focused on if you're using Adobe. I think this will perform as well as Ryzen would in Adobe. You're really not going to get a much better system. You might save a little bit on the motherboard, and that might be a stretch. The processor, yes, might be a little bit cheaper, but again, you're going to get about the same performance. This will probably edge out in some of your games like StarCraft 2, World of Warcraft. The games like Division 2, maybe not so much, but this is what I would do for the money. Maybe get a Hyper 212 or just stick with a stock core though. So That is my recommendation. Okay, back down to what we're doing here. So hopefully you guys have found this kind of advice good. And, you know, I set, you know, basic recommendations. Stinks that I can't. Get the heck out of here. I believe is the last one that I need to do. Switch back to Holy, since that is the spec that I'm running main right now. And I will jump over to here.
Hi there.
There we go.
Take care.
Yeah, I probably should be testing that right now. I'll test it tomorrow. I actually have had some people interested in stuff. So I think I will cut the stream now because I have some things I need to take care of. I just wanted to do a redraw. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, like it if you liked it, dislike, get subscribed, buy stuff from Amazon. But as always, guys, this is Steve from PC Budget Solutions, and I'll see you later on down the road.